What's up guys, you're watching TCG Fish. Real quick deck profile for you again. This is standard with blue-black Tezzeret. So the new format's just come out, Rampaging. Everything's still a bit up in the air, so rather than try and come up with something too radically new, I just keep going with the old deck I played at Nationals. So this is blue-black Tezzeret. If you're wondering why only blue-black and not RIXs, you can go and watch the video I made after Nationals. A lot of what I said in that video I still think is true today. So yeah, go and watch that quickly first if you want to know more about this list. Just getting into it, so the three finishes, or the big finishes, 3 Tezzerets, 4 Herald of Anguish, 1 Noxious Gearhulk. This is the same as what I played in the past, so I still think this is a good mix. The one new card I put was from Rampaging, so this is a Golden Guardian. I tested this card like briefly, I haven't had that much time to try it, and it's good when you do flip it, but you can't really flip it unless you're already ahead. Like the only thing is it fights into the big creatures, which you're like, if you stabilize with a Herald out, you're already basically winning anyway. Or you do have a couple of smaller creatures, which I'll talk about in a minute. But it's sort of, so like you can sort of, if you have a small guy out, they can't abrade this because you can fight in response and then it will flip. But the way it turns out is it's sort of like, it becomes like a fatal push magnet in the deck basically, or like an abrade magnet, because you don't really have too many other good targets for those removal spells. So I don't think it was like a terrible decision to play it, but I probably wouldn't include this card in the future. The artifacts, so only 3 Pacification Arrays now. I was playing 4 before. I just think that they become too awkward when you draw multiples. 4 black Puzzleknot, 4 Prophetic Prism. I still think this is good. Still don't like Treasure Map. 1 Key to the City. Where's that gone? This card's still great. And then 4 Filigree Familiar. So in the video from Nationals I talked about how this looked like it was going to be a better card than, what's it called? Contraband Kingpin. And yeah, I've definitely jumped fully on board with that now. It's just like a rogue, it's just this deck's version of Rogue Refiner. Like it does so much at 3 mana. It's just a really, really high value card for this list. Way better than Contraband Kingpin. And there are 2 more artifacts, 2 more new cards, 2 Silent Gravestone. So one thing with this deck is it's like a blue-black control deck, but it's not playing Vraska's Contempt, and it's not white, right? So you don't have Cast Out or Ixalan's Binding, and that means that if the Scarab God resolves, it's like a huge problem. Right? Not only can you not really permanently deal with it, but once they untap and start activating it, then you just lose the game very quickly. So because Temur energy has sort of like shifted into Grixis, plus now there's like blue-black control and all those other decks, the number of sort of mid-range control decks whose late game relies on Scarab God and Torrential Gearhulk has increased. And this is just a way to ensure that it basically like means that these late game decks really struggle to leverage their late game over yours, and it's just such a low opportunity cost to play this card because it's 1 mana that helps you improvise cards out, and in matchups where it doesn't really do anything, you can just get to 4 mana and cycle it. I was really happy with playing these. They didn't have too big of an impact in the games where I did play them today, just how the matchups worked out. So there was only one game, I think, where this had an impact, but it literally decided the outcome of the game, basically by disabling Scarab God and Gearhulk, and in the other matchups it just powers up improvised cards and then cycles away. So I was really happy with playing these. To make space for these, I basically cut the Sorcerer Spyglass and one of the Pacification Array. So overall, I think that worked out. You can make an argument for bringing the Spyglass back into the main deck somehow, like maybe for the Golden Guardian, because that still has a lot of utility in many matchups. And then the other spells, same as before. So 4 Battle at the Bridge, 4 Metallic Rebuke. These don't really need too much explanation, right? This is just like upgraded mana leak for this deck. And then this is just stupid, like it's Tendrils of Corruption that not only scales with the number of lands that you have, but also like the number of spells that you played earlier in the game, and it kills Tezzeret. This just like won me so many games today. Like one of the best removal spells in the format, I think. Yeah, really good. So that's all the spells except one, and the last card is just one Tezzeret's Touch. So this is quite good. It's just a good card in many different spots. So the ideal thing to do with it is that you put it on a Metalspinner's Puzzleknot, because then if they try and do anything to it, you can activate it in response. And then not only does the Puzzleknot come back to your hand from this, then you also get to draw another card, and then you replay this again and you draw another card. So obviously that's really sweet. And the other thing that is good about this, particularly for this deck, is it gives you a good way to pressure Chandras, which is otherwise like a really difficult card for this deck to deal with. So the only reason why this is maybe not so good is because it's like a really big blowout if you try and cast this on something and then they abrade it in response. So you have to sort of play around that a bit. And the other thing, which I think I might have mentioned in a previous video, is that if you put it on something and then they Vraska's Contempt or Hostage Taker it, so they don't destroy it, so you don't get the trigger, then that's also really bad. But you just sort of have to try and play around that if you expect that's going to happen in the matchup that you're playing. So you could, based on everything I've showed you so far, what I would suggest is you cut the Golden Guardian. So the slot of Golden Guardian, Tezzeret's Touch, and yeah, so these two could either be, so probably don't play Golden Guardian. You could play 2 Tezzeret's Touch, 2 Reverse Engineer, 1 Tezzeret's Touch and 1 Reverse Engineer, or one of those and Spyglass main deck. That would be what I would suggest moving forward. I'm not exactly sure what is the correct mix to go with there, but that sounds about right. I'm disappointed that this card doesn't work out, because it looks really sick in foil and it has a cool ability and it's like a flavorful fun card, but it's just too awkward to use. I don't think this is very good. So that's all the spells, and then the lands. 7 swamps, no sorry 6, I lied because we put another land in now. 6 islands, so 50-50. 2 Spire of Industry. So you don't want to play too many of these because they cost you life and they muck up your Drowned Catacombs, but you don't want to play too few in case you get color screwed. 2 is like a good number, I feel. I don't... yeah, nothing exciting. 8 of the blue-black dual lands, 4 Drowned Catacomb, 4 Feeded Pools, 1 1 Inventor Sphere. Yeah, you know, your artifact there extended. You can find Noxious Gearhulk is the big one, main deck, or the Graveyard Hay card is also like quite clutch. I guess that's the other upside of like Golden Guardian, is that it's like a finisher that you can find with this main deck, but it's probably not worth it. Anyway, the last land is Arch of Orozca, and I just sort of threw this in like, well, my deck's not that heavy on color requirements, and I have a lot of permanents. I guess maybe I'll use this like once or twice in the tournament or something. But this card is actually insanely strong. Like in any matchup where it does activate, it's probably going to decide the result of the entire match. Just drawing cards off your lands. Like I just thought this was going to be like a really innocuous, overcosted. Well, if it comes up, then that's cool. But like it feels like a really almost broken design. Definitely watch out for this card in Standard going forward. If you're any kind of control deck, and I mean, like, to be fair, this deck really like spews out a lot of permanents for a control deck. So maybe you can turn it on faster than other decks can, but the way that this can quickly sort of get out of control is really surprised me. So if you're making any sort of control deck in Standard moving forward, this card should definitely be a priority to sort of like include, I think. I was really impressed and surprised and like a little bit concerned by how many games, not only in my own matches, but the matches I was seeing, were decided by like 1 or 2 activations of this. Yeah, having card draw stapled onto your lands, very powerful. Anyway, onto the sideboard. So I put the Spyglass in the board. This is really good. Where's my camera at? I don't know. Yeah, we'll go with that. It's still really good against Chandra. There was one game where I tutored it up with Inventor Sphere to destroy Chandra basically, and that won me the game. And the other matchup it's really good against is Mardu Vehicles, because it turns off Heart of Kirit and Chandra and Scrap Heap Scrounger. And in the control matchups you can disable Azcanta. And it also gives you a backup way to turn off Scarab God. The more anti-control cards, 2 negates. I like these way better than Duresses because you're not really like a Timur energy deck that has Thopterist and Glint Sleeve Siphoner. So you can't really aggro out control. You can't really go under another control deck. So Duress doesn't really make sense. You want to have negates so you can fight over Second Sun and stuff like that. Yeah, so I don't like Duress in this deck, even though you are a blue-black control deck. Maybe that's wrong, but that's definitely how I feel about it. And 1 planar bridge, so again, like I said in my video after Nationals, this card looks really stupid. Because it's like a 6-mana big EDH thing. But you just want a big bomb that you can find off Inventor Sphere to like shut the door against a control deck. Anti-creature cards, 2 Fatal Push, 2 Yahini's Expertise. I wouldn't cut any of these 4 at all. Both of them are really valuable. But I'll attribute my losses today to me being an idiot and not realizing that these are actually really good against Grixis Energy. I might have been saying Timur Energy out of habit for some of this video, but I think all of my references to energy decks have been to Grixis, so sorry if I mixed anything up. Anyway, this deck's really soft to Glint Sleeve. I wouldn't say really soft, but like that card gets out of control really quickly if you can't kill it immediately. Almost a bit like a Long Tusk Cub. And if I had like a really good intuition for the game of MTG, I guess, I would have realized that a lot faster, but it took me a couple of rounds. because I hadn't really done much testing at all. And the other thing is that Filigree Familiar sucks in that matchup because it doesn't block anything, and you don't care about attacking. So in the past, in that matchup, it was fine. Well, when I say that matchup, I mean like energy, because it blocked Long Tusk Cub and it traded with Rogue Refiner. But now it just doesn't do anything against the Grixis version. So yep, don't autopilot when you're playing. Always think about what's good and what's not. One Luxor River Shrine. This is meant to be like an anti-red deck wins kind of card. And I don't really actually know if it's good or not. Like every time I draw it, I'm always seem to be ahead already anyway, so it doesn't do anything. Maybe it's good or not, I'm not entirely sure. It seems like it would be fine, but if you think this is a bit too stupid, then you can feel free to replace it with something else. I mean, I happen to say it's essential. 3 Reverse Engineer, maybe 3 is too many, but against the mid-range and control decks, just drawing 3 cards is really good. Like I said before, you could probably move 1 or 2 of these to the main deck and mix up some of the other slots. One, I don't know if I'm moving out of frame here, 1 Lost Legacy. So it's basically just for Second Sun, and it's good against the, I almost said Servo Schematic, what am I thinking of? Hidden Stockpile. Like I said in my video on Nationals, you want to break up the Anointed Procession engine somehow, and Lost Legacy can be a good way of doing that. But I didn't board it in against anything else. And then 2 Gonti. So this was like a bit of like a, oh, I have no idea what really to put, I'll just put 2 Gontis. So they were just supposed to be like a value mid-range card versus energy. And maybe they suffer from the Filigree Familiar problem in that they don't really block anything, so maybe they're not worth playing. But again, the other thing is that I also saw on some articles or whatever that there was like a red-green big creature deck that was sort of popular. So Gonti seemed fine if anybody decided to be playing that today. Yeah, so for the sideboard, I would say that like this is essential. You need at least 2 of these in the 75 somewhere. These are essential. I wouldn't say this is essential, but I think it's good. You want to have at least 2 of these in the sideboard. You want 1 of these in the 75, and then somewhere in the 75, and then these are sort of like a bit iffy. So you can, that would be my advice. And then the rest of it you can figure it out and mix it up yourself. So the matchups today, I beat Mardu Vehicles and then I beat Red-White Aggro, so a nice 2-0 start. Then I played against Grixis Energy twice in a row and I lost both. So like I said before, I realized I was not boarding correctly in that matchup. So after the first matchup I corrected in some errors, and then after the second matchup against that deck, which was round 4, I realized I should be doing something different again, so that was a bit disappointing. And then round 5 I beat Red-White Aggro again, and then in round 6 I lost to Mono Red, which was like a very lopsided game. Like I crushed him game 1, and then game 2 was like a pretty interesting, and then game 3 he just steamrolled me. So so I do think, just some closing thoughts on this deck, I do think it's close to being competitive. It's got some really strong things going on, and so the first unique thing is that having access to this is really good against any aggressive matchup. being able to play this main deck gives you some gives you a pretty unique angle versus the format. And then like these cards are just quite powerful if you are able to build around them. So there's some good things going on. But I've just played this deck for quite a while now, and I've refined it to a point where I think that there's like not much else I could change. Like I said today, there's still many things I could have done differently or better that would have probably improved the outcome. So maybe there's still some potential there. But I might be retiring this deck and moving on to playing something else in the future. So if you've been playing Tezzeret, or if you'd like to give this a go, let me know. The next deck I'm looking at is blue-white cycling. I think that strategy looks pretty legit. So if you've got any tips, any questions, any thoughts, get in the comments. This is TCG Fish signing out.